That way, if you said I said something I didn't say, then I gotta say nope, right there it is, because you have a really bad habit of doing that to me.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I know, man, just ridiculous. So I have to back myself up no matter who it is. So tell me about it, bud.
Uh, well, I'm not sure to what extent she told you, but essentially, Jamie went away on a business trip. She filled the boys in, filled me on in on what needs to be done as far as the dog's medication, the boys' medication, and you know, and Hayden is supposed to come home on the regular bus, not the late bus, and he can work out at home for those 2 days because with me working, I never know. My truck could break down and now he's stuck somewhere. And I just
Mhm.
didn't want that to happen. So she told him specifically what he was supposed to do. So the very first day she was gone, she went to work and um then from work she went to the airport. So of course that very night, what does he do? He his friend texted me and asked could he come. He said, "This is Hayden. Can on his friend's phone? Can Cody come stay the night?" Well, first of all, it's a school night, and I don't condone to that, but Jamie still allows that to happen. And I said, "No, bud, I'm sorry. Maybe he can come over this weekend," because he had just had friends over on the weekend, and literally that night, or that yeah, the night before, I mean, him and his friend literally trashed the house. We went grocery shopping. He depleted almost all the food, even what I take to lunch, like frozen meals. Jamie will throw them together, so I have something for lunch. Ate every single one of those. And then he cooked a whole huge pork tenderloin and just ate it with his hands and just, put probably about a 3-inch piece back in the fridge with two huge bite marks out of it, and so it was already starting from the weekend to irritate me because he was doing things that was just, he had a friend over, so he felt like he could just do whatever he wants. So Jamie leaves. I said to him in the same conversation when his friend called me after he texted me and said,
Okay, hey,
"Why
Lonnie,
can't I come over?" I said, "Well,
back
bud, because it's a."
Lonnie, back up about 2 or 3 sentences. You hit a bad spot. I've lost you completely. I don't know if you can hear me, but I cannot hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, you just came through.
Okay. So I was saying about how the whole weekend went that Sunday with his friends being over and how they just trashed the place.
Yeah.
So me being man that I am, I don't want Jamie. She left to go on a business trip. She's gonna be she's got all the layovers, she's got early morning classes. When she first got down there, everything wasn't the itinerary wasn't exactly the way it was supposed to be. So they didn't get to eat that night too well. The next morning, it was supposed to have complimentary breakfast. They didn't have that. So I'm feeling for my wife. She's going
Mm-hmm.
on this business trip to better herself. And it didn't start off so well, and she had layovers, her flights were late, etc. A trip is tiring, so I wanted her to come back to a clean house.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Hayden on the phone. I said, where are you? And he said, I'm at school waiting for the bus. Why? And I said, well, because Aunt Jamie told you to come home on a regular bus. Cody cannot come stay the night tonight, maybe this weekend. I said, but I would like for you to go home and clean up your mess that you made. What mess? I said, Hayden, the kitchen is literally trashed. I mean, you have depleted everything. There's no clean dishes whatsoever. And thing is a total wreck. Please come home and clean it. He hangs up the phone on me.
Oh.
So I get back to work. Then I had to go help a friend on the way home from work. I go do that. I get home, no Hayden. I asked Tristan, have you seen Hayden? Nope. Have you had the dogs out? Nope. Do you know if they've been out all? Did you go to work today? No. Did you take them out at all? No. I was really tired. So the
Hmm.
dogs hadn't been out. They had been locked up the whole day. You know, there was poop and pee everywhere from the dogs. You know, I take them out and so on and so forth. And I'm waiting on Hayden and I'm waiting on Hayden and I'm waiting. Long story short, we don't I didn't want to message Jamie. I tried to hold off because I didn't want to, you know, add to her plate and she's not even there. So I finally break down. I call her up. I explained to her. I said, this kitchen is a wreck. I said, you know, I asked Hayden to clean. I told him to come home. He hasn't come home. It's now 10:30 at night. You know, I don't know where he is. I have no idea. So finally, she tries to call him. He answer her either. So finally, I get Tristan to message him, try to call him. He gets no results. Long story short, we don't get a hold of him until after midnight, almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't He's at Cody's house. He immediately hung up from me and called Cody's dad and asked could he come spend the night, could come pick them up. So that's what they did.
Hmm.
Mind you, I have to be up at 4 in the morning to go to work, and here it is now 1 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm waiting because Jamie's not sure what she wants to do. Does she get him picked up and brought home because she's not sure what he's going to do while he's over there? He's still awake, obviously, you know, and he's got school the next day or he has tests or whatever. So I end up not working the next day, so I don't get paid. I get a point for not coming to work because I didn't have enough sleep to go to work. You know, and just the effects from just that was enough. So the very next night, the next day, I had to go to my, what did I, oh, on that day that I didn't work, I filled my day with getting certain things done outside of the house and so on. That night, Hayden does not come home again from school. Nobody knows where he is. They have no idea. So now 10, 11 o'clock, his girlfriend's mother's bringing him home because he went over there after school instead of coming home again like he was supposed to. And the kitchen is still waiting on him. And Jamie's coming home the next day. So finally, I get home, Hayden's home, and I asked him, can you please finish doing? He did some of the dishes and he didn't clean up the counter, didn't clean up the stove, nothing. I mean, there was wrappers for everything. There was boxes to everything. The frozen meals that Jamie gets me comes in a disposable microwavable bowl. They're on the floor. They're all over the place. I mean, it looked like somebody picked the house up, shook it, and put it back down. So I said, Hayden, you know, I asked you to clean this and this and that. Just walk, like literally walking through me. I'm standing in the kitchen. He's walking past me. He's mumbling. He won't answer me. He's being sarcastic when he does. And I'm like, well, you know, I asked you to come home the other day. Jamie told you to come home after school, ride the bus. You chose not to. And you told her that you didn't know. And you told me that Aunt Jamie didn't tell you to come home today too. That she didn't say that's why you went to your girlfriend's. And I'm like, you know, it's the excuses, bud. It's the things that you're doing. And I said, I missed a day's worth of work yesterday. I'm not getting paid for that. And I got a point for not going. I go, your actions are affecting our life and you're acting like you have no concern. And he goes, I don't see why you don't think I have any concern. I said, you don't have any concern. You don't have any respect. And, you know, let's take, for example, the fact that you cook something that I was going to cook for dinner for everybody and you chose to eat it yourself, all for yourself. I said, a whole pork tenderloin is not something that you just throw in. And I said, not only that, it's raw in the middle. No, it's not. I checked the internal temperature. I said, Hayden, look at it. You can look at that pork tenderloin and see that it is not fully cooked. It's completely raw in the middle. No, it isn't. I said, okay, well, I'm not sure you have such an attitude with me. I don't have an attitude. I mean, just every snappy,
Hmm.
snappy, snappy. and everything. And I said to him, I said, "Oh, here's the thing, you don't follow rules people tell you, and then you say you don't remember, you don't this and that." And he goes, "Yeah, well, as far as other people eating and as far as whatever you have to say, I don't care. I told you this already, and you're supposed to leave me alone, and you're not supposed to say anything to me. Isn't that what you said you were going to do?" And tried to brush past me and shoulder me. So I literally said, "I think you need to chill out a little bit, you know?" And he just kept going and kept going and acted like he was going to go right on upstairs. I said, "I asked you to clean this kitchen, so you're going to stay down here and clean the kitchen." I said, "And I also asked you to clean up the poop and everything because you're not here. Tristan worked today and you didn't come home, and the dog suffered again. There's another example of you not caring." And he said something smart and threw something in the sink. And I'll be honest, it was enough for me. I lost it. I yelled at him. I told him, I said, "Do you like living here? Do you like having everything you want and everything you need?" I said, "You're going to tell me to my face you could care less about anybody else here in this house or what we go through. You know, one something in the morning to find out where you are, and you literally ignore every phone call and every attempt to try to get a hold of you. Do you realize that that's not right? It's wrong." And I go, "And to literally deplete everything in this house, I have absolutely nothing to bring to work for lunch now all week." I said, "You eat, you cook something, and you endanger yourself getting sick because you don't cook it right, and then you literally eat it for yourself, and whatever's left over, no one's going to eat because you've had your mouth and hands all over it." And he just kept getting smart with me, and I walked right up to him, and Hayden's dramatic. I never even put my hands on him or anything. I walked up to him because I'm like, "I can't hear you when you're speaking. You mumble and you say stuff under your breath, and I can't hear you, so therefore we're not having a conversation." And he backed up so hard and bumped into the refrigerator and was like, "Ow!" And I go, "You did that yourself, you know?" So then he starts crying. The next day I'm on the phone with Jamie. He's home, she's home. He's literally giving a dramatic detail, crying. "Oh, he got in my face. He was yelling and screaming at me, and he pushed me into the fridge, and then he pushed me into the counter." I'm like, "That is absolutely not true, Aiden. You literally backed to just like the time that he had his mother out yelling at me. He's in his room, and I'm taking his door off the hinges, and he literally is trying to snatch the tools out of my hand and tell me I don't have the right to do that, and then took both his hands and shoved me. And I walked straight up to him and told him, "I don't know who you think you're doing that to." And he flings himself across the hallway into his mother's bedroom door. So she comes out and she's like, "What are you doing to him?" I go, I didn't touch him. Like, he literally flung himself into your door like I did that to him. He's an exaggerator, and he's an actor too. So, you know, I did yell at him, and I did tell him that, the way he is being and the way what he does is affecting my work. It's affecting the money situation, not to mention the fact that I'm up all night worried where he is. And he basically just tells me he don't care, and I am to leave him alone. And that's what Jamie told me. That's what your counselor told you. That's my counselor feels the same way. Da, 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 da. You know. So I told Jamie, I said, she puts it on me. So what do you think we should do? What do you think we this and that? It's not to have the conversation with me. Jamie's whole thing is like wanting to pick my brain to see what I think should be done next. Am I going to go against her? He feels like should be done as far as giving him a major consequence and all that. And I told her before, I don't want to be part of whatever the discipline is. I don't want to be part of any of that. I can give you my suggestions of what I think should be done. But 9 times out of 10, you don't believe that anyway, or you don't think that should be done. And secondly, I typically do not even say a word to Hayden about anything he's doing until it gets to the point where I'm there and have to ask him to do something, or we are in the same vicinity and I communicate with him at all. He provokes everything to be just an argument, and just so that it will be a problem, especially if Jamie's not home. It has to be a problem with him. He literally will look at my face and say, I don't care.
Mhm. Uh,
So
I
I,
know for
I,
you that's got to be hard because you're trying to do your best, but when Jamie's not there, you're the authority figure, you're the sole adult. You have to speak.
right. And so
So
when I spoke to Jamie the next day, this is all she did. When I explained to her what he did, and I explained to her how he didn't come home 2 nights in a row, explained to him how the dogs were neglected, explained to her how, you know, he literally, disrespected me to my face, talked to me like crap. Oh, and then added, because the internet got turned off because that was Misty's bill and she didn't give the money, and I've been waiting on her money for a car payment. I've been waiting on my brother-in-law's money for his rent. So everything is coming out of me. Plus, Jamie is constantly asking me for money for gas, food, everything. Constantly. Literally, it's almost like she's not even working. She says, I paid this bill or I paid that bill, but has nothing left over every week. And so everything on my end that I pay is slipping, and I got to wait till the next week to get paid. And so the Spectrum bill, the cable, or the internet was the only one that didn't get paid this week. So Hayden looks right at me and goes, and I don't know who you think you are telling me what to do. You can't even take care of your responsibilities. And I said, and explain to me what it is that's my responsibility that I haven't taken care of. Looks me up and down from the floor up and says, tell me why the internet is off. And I go, I don't have to tell you anything as far as anything is off or on here. Do you pay the bill? No, I don't. I go, well, you have the nerve to talk to me like that when you literally disobeyed, did not come home, cost me more money, cost me more time and everything. And you want to talk to me about my responsibilities and why the internet is not on. I go, you're pretty selfish, you know? So talking to Jamie, everything that I told her about that, and he's standing right there, all she could say is, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, what did you do? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
what did who
Well, what
do?
did you do? Me. What did you say to him? Well, how do you think you handled it? I said, Jamie, right now, what you're doing is what you always do. You are literally talking down to me about my actions and what I said to him. And you have yet in 4 days of speaking to him twice, briefly, and right now, have not once said, Hayden, because he's over there spewing off, saying what, and I said, what is he saying? She's like, I know, Hayden, Hayden, I know. And I said, you know what? What do you know? What is he saying? And she's like, well, he's over here with tears in his eyes saying that you threw him into the refrigerator, you did this and you did that. And I'm like, okay, so right now what you're doing is you're listening to what he's telling you and you are confirming it with him. And right in front of him, you're telling me, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, but what did you do? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This, when you are well aware of what he's done, you're well aware of the fact that I missed work. You're well aware of the fact that I haven't had much sleep in 2 days and all of that. And you are making it seem like I am the person that is in hot water here and I am wrong. Well, you know what John told you and what you should be doing. And I just don't think that you should have even yelled at him. You yelled at him so loud and everything that Bobby had to come down here and intervene. I said, yeah, he came downstairs because he heard me yelling at him. Yeah, he did. And asked me to come upstairs and was like, calm down because it's not going to get you anywhere. And pretty much told me that he understands exactly what I'm saying and that he can see why I would be upset and whatnot. Just don't escalate. Let Hayden, do whatever. If he doesn't finish it, let Jamie handle it, et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, yeah, well, it was loud enough for him to hear, and you must have did something loud enough for him to hear, like throw him in the fridge. I'm like, you're doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it again. And each time you talk to Hayden, you do not make it known. I said, I told you that night I would have went and picked him up and brought him home. I said, how do you know what he did all day the next day? And come to find out, he didn't have school, but we haven't discussed any of that because we have been on nothing but how I'm supposed to be. And, it does no good to get upset. And I'm like, Jamie, I already know all of this. I said, I was not speaking to him about not coming home to begin with. I was speaking to him about what I wanted done right there, then and there. And I tried your method and say, I'm not going to discuss any of that. I asked you to do this. Now that's what needs to be done. And if you don't do it, tomorrow you will not leave this house. You will stay right here. Well, you can't do that. You can't tell me to do that. You can't this, you can't that. Well, that's what I'm still faced with, is that, she is 100% on this whole thing of you can't force them, you can't push them. She told me that literally. You can't force them to do these things. All we can do is just ride with it. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, you ride with it. I said, I'm gonna tell you right now, if he don't come home from school, if he don't do I'm not losing a bit of sleep and missing more work and not having more money to pay bills and etc. When, if your idea is he's a teenager, these are things that teenagers do, and if that's what he's going to do, then I'm telling you right now, I'm going to take separate measures. I'm going to put a lock on the refrigerators and they eat when meals are cooked. I'm going to take all the dishes away and I'm going to put paper plates and disposable stuff in there. Because for me to come home and have nothing to eat off of, nothing to drink out of, the house is a wreck. I mean, stuff is everywhere. The dogs haven't gone out. They've gone all over the house. The puppy is in her crate all day long, 11, 12 hours. I go, this is just neglect.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, if they're not going to do what you asked them to do, and you're going to ride with it because they're teenagers, and you're more worried about the fact that I got upset at him than what he's done, and you're just going to give him some major maintenance that does not do anything for him and defend him when you weren't even here, then I don't want no parts of it. None. You go away on a business trip or you're not here, he's as good as by himself, even if I am here. Because I can't, my hands are tied. I can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowing me to, it's not even allowing me to. You are not working with me. You are not taking my side and literally saying, Hayden, your actions were wrong. They were wrong, period. There is no period with Jamie. None. There is just listen to them and understand where they're coming from and not escalate anything and not put your foot down. And I can't be part of that too. I can be separate from it. She do what she want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, no food in the house. Your friends come over, you invite more without even asking. You leave, you don't come back, you don't tell anybody. No one knows where you are. And we're supposed to care.
Let me ask you this, Lonnie. And I'm just asking these questions to kind of dig in, but what's your all's reasoning for continuing to allow him to have friends over with this type of behavior?
That's what Jamie does. That Jamie allows them. I mean, he can do something. She'll give him some major maintenance and swear he did a whole bunch of stuff. I don't see it. And then immediately the same day, he's got friends over. There is no strictness whatsoever.
So he has no reason to behave because he knows he can get away with it.
He can get away with whatever he wants, John. I'm telling you that from the truth, my hand to God. He can do whatever today. Yep. She can apply whatever she feels like needs to be applied. and then it's right back to normal again. We can't continue punishments. We can't make them long. We can't do this. We can't do that. I told her, I said, if it was up to me, he'd have a bed in his room and that's it.
You
He
know
would have
what?
no internet privileges,
Yep.
no phone,
Yep.
no nothing.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
no,
Yep. Yep.
I'm wrong,
Yep. Yep. No,
wrong.
let me tell you this, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to address you directly. I'm not going to talk
Mhm.
about her response because she's not here yet. You know, we can discuss
Right.
that response when she's here. I'm going to talk to you
Right.
directly because
Okay.
what we have is you and Hayden's story. We have
Mhm.
Bobby intervening,
Hmm.
and Tristan, I think, said that it was like I think he said maybe something like that's the maddest he's ever heard you at Hayden.
Yes.
Okay. You're going to be shocked when I tell you this. Jamie would probably be shocked. I have no issue with the way you handled it. None. Matter of fact, I'm surprised you handled it so calmly, no matter how much you yelled and got mad.
Yeah.
And here's,
I never put my hands on him, and
I believe you.
never called him a name, nothing. I just
believe
literally
you.
asked him, do you appreciate what you have?
Yes.
Because you don't show it.
Now, as you're telling me this story, this kid has entirely too much freedom with his behaviors. And what you
Exactly.
just said, Lonnie, and I will tell Jamie this, I've got the recording. I am not, God is my witness. As you're telling me the story in my head, I'm processing. What would I do? That kid would have a bed, he'd have no internet, and I'd strip his room down. He would not
Yep.
have friends coming over. And I
Nope.
would say, Hayden, you don't display enough responsibility and respect to have privileges. With
Exactly.
maturity, with respect and obedience, privileges are restored. The only thing you have a right to as a young man is
You're
food
gonna say
and
what
a
I said.
dwelling and clothes. That is it.
That's what I just told Jamie yesterday. I told her on the phone when she was literally telling me where I was in the wrong. I said, Jamie, let me tell you something. I have earned the right to be a grown person with a home, with a family. I have earned that. And I have earned it because I get up, I go to work,
That's
I pay
right.
my bills, I do everything I'm supposed to do as an adult.
Yep.
I'm not perfect. But I tell you one thing, there is no way that Hayden would do the things that he has done from the beginning. And I said, this quote, word for word, I am so sick and tired of you defending him to the maximum when he does not do what he's supposed to do. You're well aware of that. There
Yep.
should be no reason why he has any of the privileges that he has. There should be no reason why he has an avenue to communicate with people outside his house because he abuses that. He
Yep.
should have no games and all that stuff every year, every Christmas. I tell you, all this money we're spending on this kid, and he is not growing at all. He is literally working his way into being 100% left alone under our care and protection. That's it. That's
Yep.
all he wants is
Yep.
food and leave me alone.
Yeah.
I said, if he forgets his key after I've made him a million of them, there should be no reason why our house is left unlocked every day for him to be able to have a way in the house.
Yep.
And he should not be going in the garage, taking my tools and breaking into our home because he refuses to have his key.
Yep.
I don't care what you think about the fact that, well, I don't think he should be outside. Outside is where he wants to be, unless he's home and has nowhere to go that he wants to go.
Yep.
Other than that, he dwells in this house.
Yeah. Well,
I would take everything away from that kid.
yeah,
Not viciously, but just to teach him a lesson.
absolutely. Because otherwise he's never going to learn. And again, this is not, and I want to clarify, I'm not taking your side over Jamie's side or anything. I haven't heard her yet, but I've heard your story. Your story is what you told her because she wasn't there. So that's why I said, I want to talk to you about your specific situation. And, you know, there is, and And I sent this verse to Jamie about fruits of the flesh or works of the flesh, fruits of the spirit, and all of that. But there is a thing, and this is what I'm thinking while you're talking there. And I have chills, Lonnie. So I kind of feel like God's confirming this with me as I speak. There is a thing called righteous anger, meaning you have the right to get upset about the things that have a warranted reason
Hold on
for.
1 second, John.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. I'm about to go through the board. Hold on.
Sure.
Good. How are you, sir? Sure. I hear you. Usually I can hear you mostly all the way. You can't hear me. So I'll let you finish what you were saying. And when I get to where I know you'll definitely be able to hear me,
Okay.
then I'll communicate back.
Yeah. Well, so far so good. You're coming through clear, but as the marriage minister and doing what I'm called to do in that type of thing, I always look for scriptures that we could apply to scenarios and find out the context and how to handle it. And so I sit and I analyze what you're dealing with. You got a child that you have been doing incredibly well with. You stayed out of the way, which I'm not not living there. I don't know how right or wrong that is, but for me, that's hard because we're called to be leaders. But then you've got a complex situation where it's not your biological child. It's not even your stepchild. It's your step nephew. So that makes it even more of a problem. Then you've got Hayden, who's been abandoned by his mother and doesn't show any types of caring for him either. So you've got a kid that's absolutely hurting, and he's lashing out because of hurt. And he's these reactions that he's treating everybody like he feels about himself. So we can establish that and say, okay, we get it. He's hurting. However, big capital letters, it doesn't mean you allow the behavior. When people say, I was just tired and I snapped, don't give me excuses, right?
Right.
Don't stop using things that haven't gone right for you as a crutch. And that's
exactly my words.
Yep.
That I told Jamie. I get the ADHD. I get the abandonment situation.
Yes.
I get the narcissism. I get all of that.
Yes.
And I have compensated for it more than I should have all this time because of you and your mother and your family. I said, at this point, there's no more. I'm not going to condone to anything anymore.
Yep. So when you see that behavior and we talk about the things you've done, okay? Now, again, this isn't, please understand, and you know me well enough. If I think you're wrong, I'm going to tell you I think you're wrong.
Right.
I don't have a,
and
I don't, huh?
I'm not expecting you or thinking that you are just simply taking my side and that, there aren't a better way to handle certain things at all. I'm not thinking that way.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying, my job is to help you guys to see it in a more clear way with a third side of it, kind of looking from the outside in, because that's the easiest place to be, and biblically, exactly. So you've got all of what I just said.
Mhm.
but you also don't allow those reasons to become excuses for bad behavior. Somebody's got to do something, right? So you've kind of removed yourself to stay out of it because you don't want to ruffle any more feathers. The way I understand
Mhm.
it, you've had no support from in-laws, you've had no support from anybody, and everybody just let him do what he wants to do. In other words, don't love the kid enough to correct
Right.
him, because the Bible
Right.
says that God disciplines us because he loves us.
Mhm.
Well, if you
And
discipline,
another way to look at that with this last situation, why I was the most angry, if something had really happened to him and I just did what everybody said, just let him do what he does.
yep,
And now, right now, he's missing.
yep,
What would my wife think if she came home
oh
and
yeah.
I did nothing?
Well, so now we're going to head to the story, and I'm just going to do bullet points because there's no reason to rehash.
Right.
He was told to come home 2 days in a row on the early bus. 2 days in a row, he didn't come home on any bus. He went to somebody's house. He went to his girlfriend's house, unable to be reached at 1 a.m., incredibly disrespectful. Then he gets home, makes a mess, has a mess over the weekend, refuses to clean it up, butts up to you and says, "Who do you think you are telling me to be responsible?" I would have lost it. Personally, I would have lost it. Now, is that
And that's the
biblical?
point where I did lose it.
Okay. Is that a biblical response? So what do we have to what are some of our examples that we can pull from the scriptures to apply to this situation? Okay. It's not like you said, "Hayden, clean up your room." An hour later, it wasn't cleaned up. You said, "Hayden, I said, get your room clean." Okay. And then he goes and does it. We're talking about months and months and months and months and months and months of rebellion.
Years.
Months, okay,
Years.
years. Well, for me, it's months.
Right.
Years, years of disrespect, years of this, years of that, years of, "I know you're the man of this house and you pay the bills and I don't care." And
And you
he's
better, but I don't care about
right.
what
Okay.
I do.
So the anger about that, there is a legit anger. It's called righteous anger. Now, your response, okay? One of the works, excuse me, real quick. What's up? Um, Tanya was just checking to see if Jamie was in here. Um, so now we have to look at the response, okay? One of the works of the
Mhm.
flesh is fits of rage, okay?
Mhm.
But then how do you define that? All right. I go back and I cannot help but think of Jesus sitting there outside the temple, weaving a whip, premeditated anger. And he walks in and flips over tables. And I don't know that it's a scriptural fact, but it's believed that he took a whip to some of those people. Is that a fit of rage? It would come across it on the surface, but he never
Right.
sinned.
Right.
So that type of a blow up isn't necessarily sin. So now we look at the other fact. Jamie's not there. You're the one trying to handle everything. You missed a day of work. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. Completely disrespectful. My question at that point would be, if I were a judge sitting in a court, I would look at you and say, "What else are you supposed to do?" I would, if I were a judge in a court and I was going to have to make a judgment on some type of a punishment for you, the punishment would have came if you just let him get away with it without saying anything. Because that's neglect, and that to me is abuse.
Exactly. And I
So
can't, that's the part I tell Jamie I can't help. I cannot help standing by and not saying something
it's
when I
hard.
see it is going to the wayside, and it's extremely hard for me.
Yep. Well, that's because you are a built-in leader. That's what husbands, dads are. We are created by God to lead. And when that is removed from the husband or the dad or the authority role, then there's a part of us missing and we are not complete because a part of us has been stolen. It is the same exact scenario with the wife to be a helpmate, to be a nurturer. That's
Right.
where the
And
blending
when
has
she
to come
doesn't
in.
feel needed, oh, you've got all kinds of heck on your hands because she doesn't feel needed. You
Mhm.
know, she might not even know how to do what you're doing and wants to help. If you tell her, no, I got it myself, that they get all bent out of shape.
Yeah.
The same with me. I cannot be, I just feel completely like, what am I here for you?
Mhm.
Just to pay bills and just to be here in this home, to say you have a husband and to say you have a father figure to your kids? Is that it? Because I don't have ability to do anything. You won't allow that.
Well, and that there's, and using that scenario like you just presented it, and I'm wording it like that because I don't want to, I'm trying to stay as even keel as possible for both sides here.
Right.
But you can't be a father figure if you can't be a father figure. Father figure is
Exactly.
more than paying the bills, giving him a good role model. A father figure has a variety of roles and responsibilities. So let's, we can discuss that with her at some point because I had a couple last week. I work with them after I work with you guys a little bit later.
Hmm.
And these two had a scenario to where they're not her biological kids, but they live there half the time. They're about to come in full time. And he's trying to do the right thing for the kids. And right in front of them, she kept saying, I don't think that's what you should do. He said, I've got it. And she kept going on and on and on. And he finally told her to shut up.
Hmm.
Well, he did that in front of the kids. Now, she admitted, if I'd have just shut my mouth, she said, but I couldn't do it. I just had to keep on saying it. So she was taking full responsibility. I said, well, here's what you did. Right in front of the kids, they saw you and him divided. Kids have
Hmm.
this instinct to divide and conquer. You say no,
Hmm.
I'll go to that one. You say no, I'll go to that one because I know how you guys operate in front of us. I said, what would have happened if you said, if you think that's the right thing, then I support you. Now you've created this monster unified wall that these kids cannot get through.
That's exactly what we're dealing with.
Yep.
And she brags on the fact that Tristan, although we have a better relationship, will talk to her when I'm not around and tell her that he feels like I'm great with little kids. He feels like I'm great with adults, but teenagers, I'm not. Why did, you know, Tristan being so smart, if that hadn't been implanted in him to a certain degree as well, he would have been like, I see where Lonnie's coming from with Hayden, and I can imagine why it would be hard for him. But that's
Yeah.
not even in his wheelhouse. It's
Yeah.
not even in his vocabulary. It is Lonnie just doesn't know how to deal with Hayden. And then my reaction and what I said to him and his mother was, that's not the problem because I get along with teenagers all over the place. I just don't get along with one of them in my home. And I said, and that's because he has been a teenager since I came here. What he's doing now is no different from what he was doing then. The only difference is it's more advanced and there's less concern for consequences.
Well,
That's the only difference. He's still the same kid. He still acts exactly the same way. He has zero fear of, I'm going to be in trouble for that
well,
because he can weasel his way out of everything.
right. And there's the problem. He knows that. And if he knows that, he's going to continue to do that. If he continues to do that and get away with it, why is anybody surprised he's continuing to act like this?
That's what I asked. That's my question.
There's no surprise. This is exactly the pattern. The kids take the least resistant path. They know it works. Little kids that throw fits in the floor and kick and scream, and the parents try to rationalize with them, they're going to do it the next time they don't get their way, and they're going to do it the next time they don't get their way. And that's what kids do. They're going to
And I've
push.
never been able to get my own way, even though I was the type of kid I was that didn't cause my parents problems. And that's the truth. And so I think as an adult, it is just ornate in me to not, I overlook little stuff with little kids. I'm not, I am certainly not what my family portrays me to be. Because if you met anybody who knows me, their kids love me. And I have watched them and I have been around them since they were born. And it's not, I mean, of course, it's not the same. I don't live with them every day. So the everyday ins and outs that they would give their parents is not exactly what they would be like to me. But they've all tried something to try to get over on me.
Well, sure.
And I've said, no, your parents wouldn't allow it. And I just don't think it's right. So therefore, the answer is no. Okay, Uncle Lonnie. It's just the difference in their character as a person, I would say, and combined with the fact that their parents wouldn't allow it either. So
Yep.
therefore, they know how would they sound going to their parents going, Uncle Lonnie wouldn't let me do A, B, C, D, and E. They'd be like, that's right. Or he wouldn't be watching you.
That's right. Well, I'm going to continue on with my perception and and again, there's a blend that has to take place.
Mm-hmm.
The wife is way different than the husband, but when you blend them together and you're unified, it can work, and it's a beautiful way that God created it to be. You have to give in a little bit to Jamie because Jamie's the nurturer, but Jamie has to give in a little bit to you because you're the big picture guy. But you have to lead, and she has to allow that. I've explained this to you guys. You guys know the story, but this is my job. I'm going to continue to enforce it. But as for me, I am not, and I know what you're going to say, Lonnie, so you don't even have to say it. Because what you're going to say is, I said that. I just have a feeling.
Mm-hmm. I do too, and I haven't even heard it yet. Trust me, my whole bag of tricks is empty.
You do not reward bad behavior. And when a kid is doing that, if he looked at me and had the audacity to ask for a kid to spend the night, it would take everything in my power not to laugh at him and say, you can't be serious.
That's what I wanted to say.
That's right, but you don't. See, now that's where the self-control is. That's where the fruit of the spirit has to override the flesh, because you want to, but that's not the appropriate response, right? Because sarcasm is not going to get you anywhere.
Right. I literally was thinking in my head at work going, you have the nerve.
That's right.
This weekend to ask that question.
That's
but
right.
I didn't. I was polite. I said, no, sir. I even called him sir. I have the message. No, sir, not this week. During the week, Jamie's not home. Let's try this weekend. And they called and tried verbally.
I wouldn't even give them the weekend, to be honest.
I personally wouldn't. I told Jamie already. I said, I don't understand why friends are over here already from last week and the week before.
Yes.
I don't.
Well,
I'm at a loss.
I think I would make it incredibly clear to Hayden, and I think that you and Jamie, this might be your assignment. And anytime I give you guys an assignment, it is up to you to accept it and do it. If you don't, I'm okay with that. This is more of an assignment to address Hayden. If you guys aren't comfortable with it, if Jamie is in complete disagreement, I respect that this is your deal, but this is what I think I might do. And you can tell her I suggested it. If she wants to see this recording, I can load it on my OneDrive and she can pull it up. I'm not so sure. I would make a list, you two together, to present it to Hayden. Not you, Lonnie. Jamie, present it to Hayden. Because now we're removing Hayden saying, well, you can't tell me what to do. I think I would make a list, a very simple list that says, number 1, clothes. Number 2, food. Number 3, house. And have it presented, say, Hayden, these are your rights. This is what you have the right to have under our roof. Everything else is a privilege, meaning you are not owed anything outside of these 3 items. If you want more than this, you have to earn it with good behavior, with respect, and with the understanding that we are supporting you, we are here for you, and we want you to succeed. But if you want friends over, that's a privilege. If you want a cell phone, that's a privilege. If you want internet, that's a privilege. Those things have to be earned. We're not going to say a whole lot to you, but we'll start restoring some of this stuff when we see a change in your behavior. And put it on him. And if he wants to come up with this big bad boy attitude, you can't take that away from me. Okay, that's another 3 days it's going to take you to get the internet back. You got anything else to say? He's got to earn it. He's not made to earn anything.
No.
Does what he wants. He makes a mess. He doesn't clean up, leaves the dogs caged up, shows up when he wants to, doesn't come home.
And the proof is in the pudding.
That's right.
Every night they're supposed to turn in their stuff. Jamie has mentioned that to you several times. I do that. I collect it. That is the biggest line of bull I have ever heard.
Well,
they have their stuff all night long. They're up till late. They don't get up. Tristan sleeps all day. There's still, I can make that very short for you. No follow through.
yeah.
She wants to be the one to make sure, but she doesn't do it.
Okay.
And
well,
I
see,
ask and remind and say, and all I get is,
well, that's something we can work on with her. So, I'd love to work through that, because if that's the case, it's no wonder there's a struggle. I mean, if Jamie's doing what you say, because I haven't heard her side of it, there's a problem if they're supposed to be turning them in. But here's another option. Can you guys survive without the internet at your house? Is there any reason you have to have it?
Let me just tell you about the bill situation. So the Spectrum was what I told you that went to the wayside, because to me, that's a need, or that's a want, not a need. And we've got other bills that have to be paid. And every week, Jamie's coming to me for more and saying, this is due, that's due, this is due, that's going to be due, this is due. And I'm sitting here looking at my check going, I know. Well, with the Spectrum, she comes back from vacation, and that's the first thing she wants to do is make sure that gets turned back on. I said I didn't turn it on specifically because, one, I don't think that we need it. I don't think that Hayden talking to me the way he did about it, and the fact that we have bills that are way more important to be paid, like car insurance and car notes and mortgage. Oh, she came up with every reason. Well,
Okay.
I have to have Tristan stuff ready. I said there's always Office Max. That made her so mad. It was unreal. Before we had a printer, that's what she did. And the fact that the internet, oh no, I have to have it for things for work. Things for work. You never needed that stuff before, and it can wait a week or whatever. Nope, she had to get the money right out of my account. I had to give her the permission to go ahead and do it because it was absolutely a necessity for the first time ever. It's
Okay.
now in this. Now all of a sudden there's things that need to be done, and we have to have the internet.
Okay,
week.
let me go through this. Okay, let's go with it, the fact that there's internet. Who pays for Hayden's phone?
We do, or I
Okay.
do.
And so it's on your bill?
Yep, it's on
Okay.
our bill. Yep,
There's a
we
thing
have a
called
family plan.
Okay, there's a thing called parental controls. And it might cost you another $9 a month or so, but there is a way that you can have his internet shut down at a certain hour, where every day it automatically shuts it down.
These are things you're gonna have to tell her, because if I
Well,
tell her, it's not gonna go nowhere. John.
Okay, I'm just telling you right now.
Okay.
That way,
I'm listening.
yeah, that way. Okay, Hayden, because of your behavior, not because we want to do this, but because we don't feel like you've earned your phone like you've had, we're cutting your internet back from this time it starts, this time it ends. If you are responsible and you do what you're supposed to do over a period of time, we will increase it. But the minute you start going backwards that's when your time on your phone goes backwards. We're just going to line it up with your behaviors. The more you do, the more time you get. The less you do, the more trouble you give us, the less time you get on your phone.
Right. I
So
would like when you do talk to Jamie, ask her exactly what I told her I think should be done, because all she could do was ask me what I thought the next steps would be. What do I think should be done, and what could I have done better? And I
yeah,
told her, Jamie, at this point, I don't know what I could have done better, because it doesn't matter what I do. I said, but as far as Hayden goes, with his actions and trying to teach him that he does not run this household like he actually
yeah,
does,
yep.
ask her what I told her,
Okay. You might
and
have to remind
see
me.
what and then see what she thinks about doing that.
Okay. Well, that way it's easy. Hayden, this is easy. This is so easy. Your
Mhm.
attitude and behavior, it's up to you how much phone time you get. If you don't like it, go get a job and buy your own phone.
Right. Numerous
That's
days. Even one day he got in the car, and him and Cody this past weekend smelled like weed. And I literally said under my breath, so they couldn't hear it, Jamie, I think Cody should go home, and I think Hayden should come home. And I don't think they should be allowed to be up all night and be here all weekend when they're clearly smoking weed. Our car is lit up with the smell.
Mhm.
They immediately got in and rolled their back windows down, and they never do that because they're so worried about their hair.
I'd have
And I
driven
said,
straight to the
Jamie, I'm
police
telling you
station.
right now. And you know what? All I got was, and she asked them, which one of you got weed on you? Neither one of them. Supposedly they were around somebody who smoked, but yet they told us that they went straight to McDonald's and waited for us. I said, why are they waiting at McDonald's, not at the school? It doesn't matter what I say, even if I say it just to
Then you
her.
know what,
So
Lonnie?
therefore, ask her when was the last time he was tested. John, this kid has not been tested for weed, which that was one of her things she was going to do, has not been tested since way back when you were still able to talk to him, just before you were able to, you stopped trying to have a meeting with him. He has not been tested since, and every week she comes up with a different, I still got to order those. I still have to order those. And I keep telling her he's been smoking. Then she'll say, well, of course he's going to pop positive because we know he smoked weed, such, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, but just the other day you told me, when I told you his room smelled like it, the whole house smelled like it. What did you tell me? Oh, he says he hasn't been doing it at all. He hasn't been doing it. I go up in his room, find in his room nothing but weed paraphernalia and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And she still, yeah, it's my fault for going up there and looking. I'm the one. I'm the problem.
Well,
I'm
I'm telling you, man, kids getting my car smelling like weed, direct that car to the police station. See what they have to say about it. I'm not
well.
joking. It's going to
Then her
take
mother
something
would have
extreme.
his mother would have a problem with
Who
that. Her
cares?
mother would have
If
a
it,
problem with.
who
Yeah,
cares?
but that's something that needs to be told to Jamie, not me, because
Yep, who cares?
I have
This
no
is
say.
it's none of their business. If they want to raise that kid, then they can take over
That's
custody.
exactly, well, when I told you to ask her what I said two things. If he lives in this house any longer, he would have nothing but the necessities. And I'm talking a bed to sleep on, clothes to put on, and food. And he will eat when we cook for him, not
Okay.
free reign to go in and just do whatever he wants and almost burn the house down and literally be a
And
glutton.
just let it.
That's wrong. Where nobody else, I have to go and get his cousin food every day, and him, because he wants two meals too, on top of eating all the food. And Lord forbid if I went and bought Tristan food and didn't buy him food. Now I'm even worse. So
Yeah.
I told her flat out he would have absolutely nothing but the necessities. And if that's not good for you, Jamie, and you don't believe what I say, if you still want to know what I think, then that doesn't work. Then he goes to live with your mother. She's the one that has all the paperwork. She has custody of him, and sending him with his mom. That ain't gonna work. He's only gonna want to come back. She's only gonna give him back.
Yeah.
And not only that, what kind of life is he gonna have over there? Hell, she's staying with her boyfriend's friends, and every day it's, I'm gonna get an apartment. I'm gonna get an apartment. I'm gonna get an apartment. I'm like, that's not an answer. Neither one of us want to see that happen. So I said, send them to your mom. She's here. They're at their camp. They're nothing but an hour away. All I got was no response, nothing. I'm like, I thought you asked me what I thought or what I think or what I should do. Nothing. She goes into, well, you know, as well as I do in our counseling, they told you. I said, oh boy, here
They
we
told you
go.
what?
That I'm supposed to be the type of person to just lay back
The
and
counselor
relax
said
and not
this?
get upset and not swear and
This is
not
what the counselor
yell.
said?
Our marital monkey.
Who
I'm
said
not
that you're not
supposed to
supposed to
get
get
upset.
upset? Who said
You,
that? How did I
you,
say that? What context was that?
according to Jamie.
Oh, I would.
You know what John told you, all the things that we're supposed to be learning, and that woman who I follow and tell me all about this consequence thing, and they have to accept their. I said, but Jamie, he's not accepting his consequences. He's doing it because you're forcing him to do it, and he goes halfway about it. I literally showed her the other night when he was washing the dishes, no concern whatsoever. And if you look at the dishes that he washes, soap scum, because he don't rinse. He leaves them in the soap water, lets them soak, pulls them out of there, and barely rinses them and puts them in the strainer. I go, you wonder why I don't want to eat in my own home. You wonder why.
Let
I
me,
mean,
let,
it's
I'm,
just,
Lonnie, hold on a minute. I'm bothered by this. I said you're not supposed to get upset.
well, that's what she told me the other day. John told you you're not supposed to get upset. You need to stop your swearing. You need to stop your yelling.
Okay.
You should have just left it alone and let me handle it when I got home. That's what I heard.
I don't
That's
think
the
I've ever said to
majority of
not
her
get upset.
conversation to
I
me.
did say something about the swearing.
Oh
We
yeah.
we want to
Yeah.
get rid of that. We've talked about that. But okay, so again,
And mind you, right in front of him, this is what she's telling him on the
oh,
phone with me.
I've never said to not get
And
upset.
not listening to, I hear you, and not listening to my response to any of that. She's listening to him. And I go, okay, well, one of you talk to me. If you guys are gonna have a conversation by yourself, well, he's over here with tears in his eyes and said, you did this and you did that. And I said, oh boy, here we go.
Crocodile tears, possibly.
I literally lied to her and told her I was at the border and I gotta go. I'll call her back later because
Well,
it was all about me.
yeah. Well, let me say this. I'm going to clarify this. The beautiful thing about the Bible is if there's a part you don't understand or it's confusing, go find other parts about that topic somewhere else and it
And
starts to come
compare them.
together, right? Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. When I wrote that husband's devotional, remember me telling you guys I took parts of it out because I couldn't even do it myself?
Mm.
Right. Why would I tell you not to get upset? I can't not get upset. That is a human nature reaction. That's not getting upset is natural and it's a
Yeah,
good
but
thing
you're okay to
sometimes.
do it because you're not married to my wife or some other man's wife who does not want her husband to get upset.
No, you
I
can't.
mean, let's face it.
Now cussing and all that, even yelling. What's the context? Because see, when you yelled at Hayden after 2 straight days of flat out disrespect, I don't even have a problem with that. Jesus walked in and yelled in the temple and said, "Get out of here! You are misusing the." Well, he was hot,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't make sense for me to say, "I told you to not get upset, not to yell." I will say, don't yell, don't curse, but there comes a point where you have to. So I have to look at it as a whole. How has your reaction been every time? It's like I've told Tanya at times, you can only push a man so far. There are these things called
Time,
breaking
John, I don't
points.
say a word, nothing.
I know.
I ignore it. I walk away. I go in my room. I will stay a little bit longer knowing that, but he's just about to come home and whatnot. Jamie's home. I will take the long route home, come home. He's already in his room doing what he does every night. And now I don't have to even deal with it. And it's sad for me because if anybody knows me, including Tristan, including Hayden, including my wife, I am a man about family time. We
Yeah.
have zero family time. We don't play games together. We don't watch movies
Yeah.
together. We don't do anything.
I
One,
get it.
because now they're a teenager and they don't want to, but it's been like that forever. I told Jamie, I'm tired of the excuse that they're teenagers. They have been able to do this since day One. Before I
Well,
even came here, they had problems with their uncles. They had problems with their great uncles and aunts. They have had problems with everyone around them because they do what they want to do. And no one can say anything different. Grandmother won't say nothing and won't allow anybody else to say anything. The mother doesn't want things that are going to make it a defined, strict. This is you do what you're supposed to do, you get everything in the world. You don't do what you're supposed to do, you get what you're supposed to get. There is none of that.
well,
There's none of that.
okay, and here's the hard part about me, Lonnie, and you're going to understand this.
Mhm.
When I work in these situations, I can get labeled, and I'm not saying Jamie's ever done this, but as an example, I'm going to say what you've already said, and I'll rehash it in just a second. But it's like, well, of course, John's going to say that. John's a man. Well,
Mhm.
again, we're going to revert back to scripture. What's the man's job? To lead,
Mhm.
because that's what God put in us. That's why
Mhm.
the wives in most marriages, not just yours, not just mine, not just my kids, everybody's marriage, most generally, the husband is what we could classify as the hardball. Not because
Mhm.
we want to be, but that's who God made us to be so we can keep things in order.
Mhm.
Because most of the time, in general, the wife is the softer of the two. Don't be so hard on them. Don't. That's just a general natural reaction of a wife. So again, you have to blend them together. With all of that said, nothing is working. In the way I feel about
Correct.
your all situation, some extremes have to take place. And that's what I'm talking about, that assignment. You need to have Jamie, if Jamie agrees, this is all up to you guys. I would personally recommend dropping that list and say, what are those three things right there? And let Hayden read them. That's what you have the right to. Everything else is nothing but a dessert. But you don't eat your dinner, you don't get dessert. You don't behave, you don't get the privileges. Privileges and rights are two different things. Driving is a privilege, it's not a right, right? So you have
Mhm.
all of these privileges. You don't have the right to anything but those three things. And a safe house. You can put four in there. A safe house. You're going to have to earn your stuff back because you don't listen, you defy, you rebel, you're a smart aleck to me. And this is my house. I pay for this house. And because I pay for this house, because I run this house, it's my rules. And I've been lenient. Your Aunt Jamie's been lenient. This is me talking to you, not Jamie talking to him.
Right.
And now we're going to have to take a little bit more stern action because you still won't listen to us. And I don't reward people who won't listen. So here's the three things you get. After that, you have to earn it. Earn it with respect, with listening, with obedience, and doing what you're told. The more responsible you are, and you show us that you're responsible, then you can start having more time on your phone. You can start having friends over again. But I'm not letting you have friends over if you're not responsible.
Mhm.
You don't show up from home after school. That's not responsible. You don't answer your phone and it keeps me up till the middle of the night and I miss work the next day. That's not caring about anybody else. And until you show growth, until you make that happen, these things are restricted. Now it's up to you to earn it. Do you want them bad enough? Then you'll do what it takes to get them back. And if you don't get it, hey,
That's what I've said.
if
And
it, if you don't get it
yep.
back, Hayden, that's your fault. Because now you know how to get them back. 1 second, Lonnie. What? Around 1:30. Yes. Yeah. About 1:30. Huh? I don't know yet. Um, anyway, otherwise, one of my more famous quotes, wash, rinse, repeat. Tell Jamie I said it. I don't care. I would tell her too. You know me. But something's got to give because he is.
You cut out. I didn't hear that. Go.
I said one of my more famous quotes that I say a lot, wash, rinse, repeat. That's all you're going to get. Nothing's worked. Nothing's changing. It's still turmoil. From the way you described it, your marriage is no longer unified again. And now
Again,
it's starting to fall apart.
And it really, it really hasn't been. It's been, we've tried to work together, but that's with me. I'm telling you, John, that's with me just stepping back. That's the only thing. And ignoring, it's all the same stuff. It's all the same. The only difference is Jamie and I don't fight as much. That's the only difference. And when it comes down to situations like this, or he's getting over, disrespects her, that's when I step in, and then that's where the weak link that's already weak in the chain just gives way, and the whole thing's messed up, and it's all my fault. And I don't know, man. I told Jamie, I don't know what else to do. I really don't. You put it in my lap. That's how you do it. She'll either, if I'm doing how she wants me to do, everything's fine. I could talk to her. She still ain't gonna do nothing about it, but I could talk to her. I could vent to her. I could, tell her where I'm coming from, and all the excuses will come. But the minute I put forth any action, or I tell him, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but this isn't gonna work like this, and anything that transpires, I don't care what it is, it's blown apart again. And all that she can talk about, either in front of the kids, with the kids, or with me, is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I have told her, just like I'll tell you what I told her, I'm sick of that. I am completely 100% sick of that. This is my home too. Those are my dishes too. That is my food too. Those are my cars too.
Yep.
That is my money going into everything that I go to work for every day. That is my house that I walk into, and it smells like a zoo, and everything's out of order. Nope. This is where I was before. Only my mind frame was, if you're not going to listen to me, and you're not going to work with me, and you're not going to take action, then I'm going to have to go. And I'm not saying get a divorce, but I will live here, and you will live here with how you think it should be here. But that's not how I think it should be where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's period, point blank, because his actions are going to cause, let's face it, if I wouldn't have pushed it, she wouldn't have talked to that girl's mother. She would have let it go to the wayside, and whatever would happen would have happened. Okay. If I didn't push things, we wouldn't be.
Well, I want to stop you really quick, Lonnie. That's what leaders do. So I'm actually high-fiving you. Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your hands on the wheel.
I'm just saying that's.
I'm going to high-five you, but don't take your hand off the wheel. I'm giving you kudos. That's what leaders do. And sometimes that's what you have to do. And she did it.
I hear you.
To both of you on that one.
Right.
I'm going to give you kudos to both of you, because she may not have wanted to. But you got her to. That's great.
Right.
But the rest of this stuff, I mean,
my whole thing is I was just, can you hear me?
Yes, you came back in just then.
All right. No, I just mentioned that because, what we think about all along is what we wage to get to where we're at. And if you hear Jamie, most of the time, unless I've stepped in and said something, or there was any action on my part, we're doing great. We're not according to her, and I've done it again, and I just feel like, and everything with her is, I'm doing it, I'm working on it, and that's not, little things here and there between us, but as far
Lost you. I don't know if you can hear me, but you are gone.
Can you hear me now?
You sound like you're underwater.
Sorry. Let me know when it gets
There
better.
you
I'm
go.
around a
There you
lot
go.
of trucks and probably
There you go.
CVs.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
So my reason for only bringing that up is what we have to go through is immense, and it's a lot of negativity to get to have her actually put forth action. There's a lot of and animosity between the two of us that I feel like is this far in so much. I mean, it's clearly right before your eyes what's going on. It's clearly before your eyes that it's not getting better. And she tells herself and everyone else that it's getting better. It's getting better. It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. No, it's not. It's actually we are learning things about ourselves that weren't right to begin with, and we are learning how to cope, not do. That's my problem. And it's not that it's not fast enough. It's the fact that there is what is relative fast or slow? It's, are you doing it or are you not?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it. If we know that these are the principles that you have to go by and these are the things that you have to do in order to see any progress, if you're not doing that and there's no progress, it's not going to magic. Just like my relationship with Hayden, I told her the other day, everyone seems to think that it should be from the beginning magic, that we just get along great and Hayden has respect for me and he does what he's supposed to do. He doesn't do that for anybody, no one. So where is this whole, well, you're not doing what you should do, obviously, because you guys don't have a good relationship.
Mm.
We don't have a good relationship. Why? Not because I haven't tried, not because I don't try everything, not because I don't go your way most of the time, because he finds another way and you allow another way. He's not going to. I told her yesterday, my exact words were, if we are not on the same page, if I say no, you say no. If you say no, I say no. If
Yeah.
we're not there, it's not going to happen.
Well, that's what I was telling you about that other couple I work with. I explained to her, and she's a very sarcastic woman, kind of in a humor way.
Mhm.
And I said, so and so, what would have happened if you supported him? Because ultimately, the scenario is his call anyway. You might not like it, you might not agree with it, but a decision had to be made. You're both on separate pages. So, according to scripture, you are to submit to the way he feels like it's best to be handled and support him in that in front of the kids. If you have a problem with it, you take him behind closed doors, out of the view of the kids, and tell him in a respectful way why you would have done it differently. And if he listens to you like a man should, he might learn something and go, you know what? The next time that comes up, I do like that idea. But what happened was you disagreed right in front of the kids. Now you're both weaker right in front of them.
Exactly.
You should have joined up, stood by your man's side, supported him, even though you disagreed, and discussed it in private. He might not change a bit, but that's because he's doing what he thinks is best. That's his job, is to make the final decision on what's best for the whole of the family. That's the man's job. You cannot take that out of him. And then I explained to her, she's here, Jamie's here.
Okay.
I might tell this story again. Here she comes. I might tell this story again so she can hear this. Let me see what time it is, because I've got another one and I've got to get prepared for it too. I've got about 10, 15 minutes and we're going to have to bend. You there, Jamie?
I am here.
Okay. Hey, Jamie. All right. So I'm going to give a really quick rundown, like our last 2 hours ASAP, because I've got about 10, 15 minutes.
That's fine.
I'm telling him a story, and I'm glad you joined in. That was perfect timing, about unity, about damages when you're not unified, And I'm giving an example of a couple I work with also on Thursdays, which is after you guys, not the 1:30 one, but I have a 4 o'clock with them. This couple has 2 kids that are his. They're not her biologicals, but she considers them hers. It was great. He was about to do something with the kids in a discipline role that she disagreed with. Now, they're standing right in front of these 2 young ones, 9 and 12 years old. And he wanted to do it a certain way. She wanted to do it a different way. And her reaction was, well, I think you should blah, 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 right in front of the kids. He said, I've got it. She did it again. He said, I've got it. She did it again. He said, I've got it. And she kept going. And he finally told her to shut up. She storms off, slams the door, goes in her bedroom. He did what he had to do in front of the kids. So my question to her was, what did you just show the kids? And, they went through a thing, and I said, those are correct, but you're not seeing the big picture. What you just did was showed how weak you two are together. And those kids recognize that. Now they know how to divide and conquer, because dad's this way, stepmom is this way. And now they've seen division. I said, what would have happened if you stood by his side and didn't say anything and said, okay, if that's what you think is best, you go ahead and do it. Then you guys have just unified into this huge monster brick wall that these kids cannot run through. And they see mom and dad united together, and they know that if you go against mom, you're going against dad. If you're going against dad, you're going against mom. And I mean, she's a very humorous, sarcastic person. I love the sarcastic humor. And she's like, I know if I'd have just shut up, it wouldn't have. And I said, right. And I said, but you got to see the big picture here. I said, and if you had an issue with him, take him in private and say, here's why I would have done it like I would have done it. And if he is a true leader and a real man, he's going to listen to you. He might not even agree, but he might pick up on something that you say that he never thought about. That's the beauty of the husband and wife brains. We work different, but we have to talk and discuss these things appropriately to unify. And when you unify, what's the Bible say in Genesis 1? It tells a husband and wife to subdue the earth. You cannot subdue anything if you're divided. Forget it. Not going to happen. And she agreed with that. And I said, and now he hung up. And this is exactly what I told her. I've said it to Tanya. When you try to suppress leadership out of a man, you're stealing the very nature of who he is. And it leaves the man empty. It leaves the man frustrated. It leaves the man unfulfilled, because God has given men the ability, the calling, and the gift to lead. And when they're not allowed to lead, it hurts their self-esteem. It wears on their mental status. It's more than just disagreeing and not being a unified bond. It will wear on the man, because you're stealing the very nature of who he is. It works the same exact way as a woman. God's given women certain gifts, and if you try to not allow them to operate in those types of things, you're stealing the very nature of who they are. That's why it's so important to mend yourselves together, for the woman to be able to apply the nurturing and the man adapt on how to nurture better. How the man is supposed to be the hard ball, see the big picture, it's going to be done this way. And the woman take on and adapt some of that nature. And now you become a team using each other's strengths to become more strong together. Two are better than one. That's the nature of marriage and the way it's supposed to be. Now, what Lonnie and I have talked about, and I'm going to say it right here. I really wish Tanya was in here. He gave me the details of what happened. And I told him, the way you guys handled it, when you were in the same room together. I'm not touching that until you got here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to do that today, but I'd still like to handle it. I mean, if you guys want to do it in the next few days before next Thursday, we'll make it happen. But here's what I know from what Lonnie told me. And Jamie, if there's something inaccurate about my rehash of this, jump in and tell me. Because I don't want to say something inaccurate, because then it's going to be a he said, she said, not getting into that. You're out of town for a few days. Your instructions to Hayden, this is Cliff Notes version. Ride the early bus home. Do not ride the late bus home. You can work out at home for 2 days while I'm gone. Okay, so far so good?
Yep.
So Hayden doesn't get on the early bus. He doesn't get on the
Nope.
late bus.
Nope.
He goes to somebody else's house without permission, has everybody scared to death. Lonnie's worried sick. He's up to 1 o'clock in the morning and he misses work the next day.
Yep.
So far accurate. Day number
Yes,
2,
sir.
he doesn't get on the quick bus. He doesn't get on the late bus. He ends up at his girlfriend's house and nobody knows where he is. He won't answer phone calls. He won't do any of this. In the meantime, he's been told by the man, get the kitchen clean. He doesn't do it. He comes in, he eats all the food. He leaves a mess. He bucks up to Lonnie and says, who do you think you are? Telling me to be responsible when you don't even pay the internet bill. I don't know how Lonnie handled it. I would have absolutely went off. Now, I'm going to give a biblical description here. Because quite frankly, Lonnie probably handled it better than 99% of men would have. My kid talked to me like that, they'd be in a wheelchair for a month. Did you ever talk to me like that? Ever? Now, I sent you the verse last night. Works of the flesh, fruits of the spirit. The one that stands out in this situation, we have to measure it up with scripture, because this is how I do it. One of the works of the flesh, fits of rage. Okay, so now we have to figure out, was Lonnie in sin? Can we qualify what he did as a fit of rage? Well, there's anger. It's in the book. You guys will see it. I've got chills. When God confirms stuff with me that I'm saying, I usually feel exactly like this. I can feel him going, keep going. You're on the right path. That's the way God works with me. So I feel like I am under his guidance right now saying these things, and I hope you guys are receiving it as such. Anger in the Bible, there's 2 types of anger. There's a righteous anger, there's a fleshly anger. The fleshly anger that's born out of the flesh, is anger that's called unnecessary anger. Okay? Lonnie and Jamie walking down the street, some dude looks over, sees Jamie and whistles at her, although Lonnie's there. Unnecessary anger is Lonnie getting mad at Jamie. That's unnecessary. It wasn't her fault. It's like my dad said, you don't want a man looking at your wife, get yourself an ugly woman. Well, they're still going to look, but not like that. Okay? That's unnecessary anger. But what's righteous anger? Well, we go to Jesus to find that one out. The disciples, he got angry with them. Why? They weren't getting the big picture. They weren't getting the spiritual meanings of what he was teaching. And he flat out asked them, why is your heart so hard? In another translation, it says, why are you still so dull? Because they're not getting it. He was angry with them. Okay, we go on a little bit further back in the New Testament. He asked them again, how much longer do I have to put up with you? That's a man who's angry. How much longer do I have to put up with you? Jesus had a breaking point, because when you see what he did at the temple, he didn't just go in and throw a fit. His fit was premeditated, because he sat outside that temple and wove a whip together to go in there, and he was ticked. Well, if Jesus goes in, and I don't know that it says it in the Bible, it might, but he took a whip with him. The way I understand it, he whacked some people with that whip, and he yelled at them, and he flipped over tables. we cannot classify that as a fit of rage because a fit of rage is sinful. So we have to classify what Jesus did as righteous anger. He had the right to be angry. The other aspect of that anger is fixed anger. As an example, I'm angry at Lonnie because he's black. That's fixed anger, and it's unnecessary anger. That's why it's so stupid. But that's a great example. Racism, which it's a human race. There's only one race. Ethnicism. That's unrighteous anger. It's anger born out of the flesh. I hate Lonnie because he's black. That's so stupid. That's what the anger's talking about. So as I listened to Lonnie's story and how he presented it, which is why I'm saying it to you, I think he handled it beautifully. The man was pushed to the limit. He was rebelled against. He was disrespected in his home. He was disobeyed. You've got poop. You've got pee because dogs have not been taken care of. He's missed a day of work. He's got a kid who refuses to listen to what he's saying and then has the audacity to stick his chest out and look at him and say, "Who do you think you are?" How that man's not in prison right now is beyond my comprehension levels. Okay, I'm hyperbolizing, but you get my point. Because even me, Lonnie, Dave, all of us have a breaking point. Just like women probably do. It's just that women are a lot more, they handle it somehow better than we do. But again, that's where you kind of come together. So with all of that said, and you know me, Jamie, if I think Lonnie's wrong, I'll tell him. Will I not, Lonnie? Will I not tell you that?
Yes.
I confronted him on the video. He said something a little earlier that I didn't really correct or say you're wrong, but I was like, well, look at it like this. And he said, yeah, I get that. So I'm not afraid to say, I don't think that's the appropriate way to handle it. And for the life of me, I can't figure out anywhere where he went in the wrong direction. Then Hayden wants to say, you said you wouldn't be talking to me. Yeah, that's what Hayden's doing. He's using that to do what he wants while you're gone, Jamie. Lonnie's got to do something. He's there by himself. And Hayden,
yeah, absolutely.
And Hayden is terrorizing the place. And this is kind of comical. And I'm saying this because I've got to hurry up. Let me see what time it is. Okay, I've got a few minutes. Now, Jamie, I know you're not going to like this. Because you're the nurturer. I got it. I promise you I understand it. But my job is to sit back and go, okay, what's worked so far with Hayden? Jamie, can you give me an answer on that? What have you guys done with Hayden that's gotten him to change? Would it be fair to say the answer is nothing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You've tried for years. He's apparently had a consistent behavior like this. If it were me, and this is what I told Lonnie, if I were you too, and this is something you guys say yes or no, John's a moron, there's no way I'm doing that. I respect that.
Ask her what I told her.
Well, okay.
When she asked me, what do I think needs to be done?
What do you think needs to be done, Jamie?
He said he thinks he should have absolutely nothing until you start seeing a change in behavior.
Okay. I love this.
And I said, if you don't agree with that, then what do I think?
Then do what you want.
Okay.
No, I said first I said go stay with his mother, but I thought about that and I don't even want that. But I said he should go live with your mother who has custody of him, who tends to be the matriarch of the whole family, and what she thinks should be done and what shouldn't be done. I think he should go. They're here. They're only an hour away. Let them take care of him and see what happens. Summer's here. He's only got a few days left of school, and see if they put up with that.
Well, let me, Jamie, I swear I've got the recording that will prove it. What Lonnie told you to strip him down of everything, I said it before Lonnie ever said it to me. Or I take that back. No, let me correct myself. It was in my mind as he told me the story. And then Lonnie said, if it were up to me, he'd only have a bed in his room. And I kind of chuckled. And I was like, I swear, I said, God is my witness. I was thinking the very same thing. So I'm not a psychologist, but here comes that feeling again. It's got to be handled differently in a way that it's all up to Hayden. I would say, Hayden, and this is what I told Lonnie, I would have you do it, Jamie, because he's not going to listen to Lonnie. But you can walk in there together as a unified force. Hayden, there's a list of 3 things I want you to read. Food.
You said 4.
Well, I'm going to make 3 and 4 the same.
Okay.
Food, clothing, and a safe house, a safe place to live. Those are what you have the right to. That's what you get from us. That's all we are mandated by law to give you. That's your rights. Everything beyond that is what we call a privilege. And to get a privilege, you have to earn the privilege. Privileges are things like cell phones, internet, going to friends' houses, having friends come over. Those are all privileges. We don't owe any of that to you. We let you do it because we love you. But considering the fact that we still allow you to do this stuff and you completely disregard our orders, you disregard our home, you don't respect, you don't listen, you disobey, you do what we tell you not to do, we're going to leave it up to you for you to get privileges. So it's going to be completely 100% up to you on how much you get. The more responsible you are, the more we'll let you have because you've proven to be responsible. But if you're not responsible, you don't get anything. So it's really up to you. You want to have a friend come over? Then clean the kitchen when we ask and do it well. If you do that, you'll get more privileges. There is a thing on phones that you can pay to have, parental controls. If I'm not mistaken, you can pay like 10, 15 bucks extra a month and tell that phone when it's allowed to have internet and when it's not. Hayden, from 5 o'clock in the afternoon until 7 o'clock, that's 2 hours you get internet on your phone. After that, you have to earn the more hours. And again, the more behaved you are, the more you listen, the more you respect, the more time you get. See how this works?
And continue to do it, not just do it once
Oh,
and then
yeah.
get it back, and then now it's relinquished.
No, you call the company or you go on your online bill thing and you zap that hour. Say, well, you didn't listen, so we're taking that hour back off your internet. It's just like working a job. The more you work, if you're not on salary, the more you make. The same thing here. You're going to be responsible and earn your paycheck. That could be your cell phone, internet. Is your internet running on a modem?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Unplug that internet at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. That way they can't
And
sneak
we
on
got
it.
other people on it too, so.
Well, what do they need it for? Is it anything?
Yeah, everything we watch on TV gets streamed. Their phones, in order to get good service, they have to have it. So Bobby lives upstairs,
Okay.
we would use it afterwards, but then again, that's when I said a long time ago, at a certain hour every day, forget this. Oh, it's the weekend. It's this, it's that. Okay. Well, the weekend, you get a few more hours than you do during a weekday, but that's it. And then it gets turned in.
Yeah.
And take everything, not just a controller, because we already know Hayden is a mastermind with electronics, unless it's for him to use for the betterment of his life, like getting up on time or doing something like that.
Yeah.
No, he don't know how to use it then.
Well, we could just change the password on the modem so that they have to re-log into their stuff and don't give them the password. You know what I mean? Until he earns it.
Okay,
That's easy to do.
there you go. See how working together works? I didn't even think of that.
Mhm.
Way to go, Jamie.
Thank you. I mean, I was 100% on board that Hayden needed strict consequences for his
So,
actions.
okay, well, and here's the thing, Jamie, and this is just saying, it's like knowing Jesus is different than knowing about Jesus. We know he needs it. What are we going to do? Are we going to say we know it and let it go? Or are we going to do something? That kid's going to be ticked off, but what else is new, right?
Hmm.
And say, look, we believe in you. We believe you're going to earn this stuff back, but you're going to have to earn it. These are privileges. I would absolutely say this is what we owe you: food, clothes, and a safe home.
Hmm.
That's it. That is it. If I do these three things, you can call 911 and CPS all you want. They're not going to do a darn thing because I am taking care of your necessities.
Right, exactly.
However, everything else is a privilege. Driving's a privilege. Even working is a privilege.
And the whole system that we use, that we have up on a poster in our kitchen, literally says the more you do what you're supposed to, the more light you have in your life, the more freedom you get. The less you do, and when we can't trust you to govern yourself the way you should, and you don't make good choices, the more darkness you have, the less privileges you have, the less
right.
freedom you have.
That's
It
right.
literally says it on there.
Well,
You know,
but
so
is
he's
that being
definitely.
applied? In your mind,
Uh,
Jamie, is that being applied?
Yeah, I do think it is being
You think
applied.
so?
I think
Okay.
that, yeah, I do, but I do think that in this specific instance, I even told Lonnie while I was out of town and he was explaining to me what was happening. I'm like, you know what? The major maintenance is what is not working with him right now is that he knows he's not going to get grounded for long periods of time from certain things. He knows he's going to have to work really hard for a whole day, and he'll sit there and contemplate, all right, you know what? It's worth the consequence. I'm going to go do what I want to do. And then I'll just have my stuff taken away from me for a day. I'll have to clean the whole yard or clean the whole kitchen or do a big, huge thing that takes me from morning until night, but it's only one day. It's okay. I'll deal with that consequence. And I will say, I did say to Lonnie too, the whole thing about this self-government is to get them to understand that they have to want to change and make the choices for themselves so that their life is easier, not us just forcing them or bullying them into doing the right thing. So if he wants to, so what you're saying as an example is right along the lines with what I was thinking would be a great approach. You know, I agreed with Lonnie when he said, I think Hayden should get nothing, but if you don't want to do that, then you don't have to, or whatever it was that he said. I think that's great. I mean, it's still self-governing. He still is earning everything
That's
back.
right.
He's making the choices himself.
That's
And that's
exactly
what he needs
right.
now.
That's exactly
You
right.
know?
So, and I hate to rush, but are we in agreement that we're going to take this next step?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So
Mhm.
what you guys, okay, so here's your immediate assignment. And if you guys can do this tonight, one thing you cannot do is let it go because it's gonna get less strength. It's like a storm. You know, the longer it goes, it kind of loses its strength. Find out what you think is reasonable for cell phones, for internet on the phone. And I'm telling you, you're gonna have to call your cell phone company and find out if you guys want to do that as an example about the parental controls where you guys have control of what what Hayden is allowed to have. If it's 2 hours, is it 4, whatever you guys come up with, but you're going to have to be diligent when he doesn't listen and going on your online account and reducing that hour and letting him know. So you didn't do what we asked you to do. So I went ahead and removed an hour off of your internet. If he gets mad, say, why are you mad at me? Yet you made the choice to remove your internet. I didn't make the choice, you did. And I mean, that's just, to me, it's the best of both worlds. He's got to earn it. If he doesn't earn it, it's his fault, not yours. And
Black and
Jamie,
white.
I think Jamie's way of putting it was great, self-governing. So it's going to accomplish two things. He's getting stripped.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, start from the bare bottom. I know it sounds extreme, but nothing else has worked. Nothing has worked. So you got to do something extreme and tell him you believe in him. I believe you're going to get your stuff back. but you're gonna have to earn it. And then he starts to feel a sense of pride because he did something right. And now he's going to start seeing, because right now, I mean, he does what he wants. He butts up to Lonnie. I can't get over that. That messes with me. I mean, my child mumbled under their breath and turned away from me one time in their life. And I lit them up, and it never happened again. I don't put up with that kind of garbage. And like I told, and Jamie, I'm going to reiterate to you what I reiterated to Lonnie. I get where Hayden's coming from. He's been abandoned. He feels worthless because he's treating you like he feels about himself. That's why he does what he does. He's lashing out. He doesn't believe in his own self. He's been abandoned by his mother. His grandmother has custody papers, and she doesn't have custody of him. So he is self-sabotaging the people who know that love him, because he doesn't believe it's real. I get all of that, but you cannot use that as a crutch. I could use all kinds of stuff as a crutch. Tanya could. We all could. It's not an excuse for bad behavior. You can't justify bad behavior. I understand it, but I don't condone it. So something's got to give. Let this young man grow up and earn his phone, earn his internet, earn his PlayStation or whatever it is he plays with, earn his friends coming over, earn the right to go to his girlfriend's, earn the right to go to his friend's house. And maybe he'll start to see the better you behave in reality, the better you do. That's my suggestion. It might be overkill, but the underkill's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Any
Yeah, I
closing
don't.
thoughts? Oh, by the way, welcome to the session, Jamie.
I don't disagree with anything that you said.
Okay. All right. My unique position here is that and that's why I wish Tanya could have made it today, because she would have backed me up when I said, she's like, no, that's the way John thinks. This is not taking Lonnie's side, taking Jamie's side or anything. I'm on both of your sides. I want to see you guys have a marriage that is an honor to God and it makes people jealous. I want you guys to have a marriage that makes Tristan say, I believe more than I ever have. And see, that's it's bleeding off into Hayden. Hayden's rejecting it right now, but God's word does not come back void. Which tells me that when you're lining up your marriage according to God's word, you're portraying God's word in your marriage. When you do that, it will not return void. It's doing something. If you guys can keep that at the peak of your focus, when Jamie, you are unifying with your husband, who is your leader, a spiritual leader, the man of the house, and you guys unify together and attacking these things, you're displaying God's word. And that is not going to return void, which also tells me if you're not unified and you're doing it Satan's way because he loves division, that's not going to return void either. You reap what you sow. So there's a lot of spiritual aspects we didn't get to discuss today. Keep at the peak of your goal. Honor God in your marriage, unify together, and let God do the rest. So that's my word of encouragement for you guys. And I wish I had more time really, but I don't. Yeah, I've got to hurry. Let me say a quick prayer over you guys. Okay. Is that cool?
Yes.
Lonnie, are you driving?
Yes.
Okay, let's bow our heads, close our eyes. I'm kidding. Just a joke. Don't do that. All right. Well, Father, I come to you right now for Lonnie and Jamie. I bless them. I bless their marriage. I speak unity into their marriage. You division or spirit of division, I bind you off of this couple. I bind you from causing any issues between them. And I ban you. I cast you out in Jesus' name. A house divided will not stand. And I call unity into this marriage now. Lord, I lift up Hayden to you. I pray that you start to move on this young man's heart. Oh, I know you're moving on his heart. That's why he's acting out so bad. I pray that Lonnie and Jamie's witness to him, is a powerful one, and that your word comes back in full force, and that this family's purpose is fulfilled according to your will. Because your word says, and for us to pray that your will in heaven to be done here on earth. So we claim it right now in Jesus' name. And I bless this couple that you would do a mighty work through them in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, you two.
Amen. Amen.
If you guys need me
Thank
before
you,
next,
John.
hey, you're welcome, man. If you guys need me before next Thursday, don't hesitate to reach out. I can always jump on the Zoom if I have a moment.
Okay.
So, but
All right. Thank you
try
so
to
much.
keep, if you guys don't mind, keep me updated. I'm interested before next Thursday to hear how this is progressing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys.
All
right.
right.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.